I'm Nick Jakern of Nick Jakern Financial Solutions, Senior Investment Advisor and Director of Private Client Group.
Nick Jakern Financial Solutions is a full-service brokerage firm in Toronto, Ontario, and has been in business for more than 20 years, servicing and building lifelong relationships with his clients. Have peace of mind knowing that you're financially secure and stable. Nick Jakern offers a range of financial services. To learn more, visit us at nickjakernfinancialsolutions.com or contact us today at 416-412-4272.
All natural sweetener, Flavorall. 20 flavors to choose from. The perfect substitute for sugar and artificial sweeteners.
Flavorall by Greenish.
Flavorall from Greenish, now available at Rexall pharmacies.
Is Canada's democracy for sale to tribalism? Tariq Fateh raised this question last week in his column. So he suggested some changes in the nomination process. Let's have a debate in Behind the News today about this. And I am joined in the studio with Dr. Shardaji and Tahir Islam Gora. So my first question to both of you is that do you think is Canada's democracy in trouble for an environment which we see as an ethnic environment? What is your take on that?
Alima ji, firstly, thank you very much for inviting. And let me take you back a little to 1968. In 1968, the Canadian population was 22 million. And at that time, there were ethnic groups, of course. You see, basically, I mean, if we see in Ontario and forget about the BC, every province, they had different kind of ethnic groups. In Ontario, we can say, in GTA area especially, there were more Italians and Irish and Greeks. The problem with this Canadian system right from the beginning, that all those people who came to migrate to Canada, they lived in one area. Now, when one community lives in one area, naturally they dominate everything. This started in 1968 when Pierre Trudeau came and he opened the immigration process. And today we are 36 million people. From 1972 to 1980, the South Asian people came at large, I would say in millions. And they settled again in Ontario, they settled in Quebec, and they settled in British Columbia. Now, at large, if we think about whole Canada, I don't think it is that kind of a danger. Yes, there are certain very serious pockets, and that too, two provinces, Ontario and British Columbia. And of course, Quebec, right from the beginning, they lived on ethnicity and they are going to live accordingly unless and until there is a change of population variation, which is not happening so soon. So I would say it's a very nice question which Tariq Fateh has raised, but there are many other things also which are involved and which we will discuss in the next few minutes.
So Tahir, I'll come to you. When we talk about the ethnic communities, if we go into depth, we will see that they are mostly South Asians, Asians, and Middle Eastern communities. And it is getting harder and harder for a white candidate to go into the ridings where the ethnic communities are. And similarly, it happens with the ethnic candidate into the white community. So how do you see it?
No, as Dr. Sharda said, in the beginning there were different ethnic groups, particularly from Eastern Europe, from Central Europe, and they were of culturally same background, what Canadian settlers belong to. So there was not much cultural clashes, there was not much value clashes. But for the past, I would say about 20 years, since 2000 until now, we see huge shift in terms of migration from Middle East, from Asian countries, particularly China and from South Asia, like India and Pakistan. So for the past 20-25 years, that shift in ethnic community really kind of make a change in our political scenario as well as our social fabric, particularly in urban areas such as Toronto, Greater Toronto area, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, and Greater Montreal area. So in those ridings, we see these challenges. As Dr. Sharda mentioned about Italian communities, now they are kind of part and parcel of main society. So if we see an Italian candidate or a Canadian candidate of Italian origin, I should say, so we don't see any kind of shift in policies or in other things. It's the same politics. But when it comes to new Canadians, which are predominantly South Asians, Asians and Middle Eastern, when these folks go to Canadian parliaments, including federal parliament as well as provincial parliaments, they really bring some sort of quote-unquote turbulence, I must say, in our politics.
So, can I add just one thing?
Sure.
You see, when we talk about the communities and we talk about the ethnic groups, we must go back behind their scenes, that from where they come. You see, all the Indians, because from 1947 onwards, Indian political scenario was altogether very turbulent, very active, and they brought the same culture here also. The Chinese problem is those people who came from mainland, they were suppressed. So when they came here, especially from Hong Kong and other areas, they thought that this is a very great chance for us, because they got the real, they actually, I would say, saw what exactly freedom is. And the same thing goes with Pakistan, because there also people are very active in politics. But the other people who came from Middle East, I would say very few are active, but these two communities and third Chinese communities, due to their background and due to their circumstances, they have brought that culture here, and I will discuss further after you have the other question, that how they have dominated in the last 25 years and how they did it. And this is absolutely wrong for the Canadian democracy for the future.
So while talking this hot topic, touching upon that, we will come to this question, that when we talk about the representation of a specific community, so do we need an ethnic representative in the parliament for their ethnic votes, taking ethnic votes and come from that ethnicity, or do we need the constituencies candidate in the parliament? What is your take on that?
Who is responsible? The politicians are responsible. The Canadian politicians, when they saw that this one particular community is very active and they have settled in one area, this was the biggest mistake which was done by the federal government. Why immigrants, when they came, why they were not settled other areas also, why they were not settled in Atlantic provinces, why they were not settled in other provinces, but in the name of democracy and in the name of humanity and other things, these politicians exploited that. So what they did, they actually brought those candidates from those communities where those communities are dominating. For example, there are three political parties. Would you can you imagine all three so-called candidates from that area belonging to one ethnic community?
No, but I will interfere in here. Do you think that they do not understand the very core fabrication of the society? That's why they bring their back home baggages and issues here? Or what actually is behind that?
They have actually not assimilated in this culture. They are living in their own culture. That's what I would say. And they are trying to put that culture into the political system of Canada. I don't know what Dr. Gora says.
Because does it relate to the understanding of the system, or do they think that that culture is superior and it should come and it should rule?
No, actually, the thing is, most communities, and especially particularly the communities we are talking about, recent communities, the past 20-25 years, they are bringing their baggage as well. So that baggage is now is kind of a burden on Canadian political structure, and Canadian political parties realizing this burden, but they do not want to lose their vote banks as well. So that's a kind of a very complex situation that the Canadian political parties know that certain ridings in Mississauga or in Brampton, for instance, or in Vancouver area, they are predominantly by such ethnic groups, and there's nothing wrong in it. But the issue is when those ethnic groups bring their own style of politics into Canadian politics. What is their style? I'll just pinpoint 2-3 important things here. First is the nomination process. Like we all know that the candidates from different parties, they try to buy members by paying from their pockets. They ask them, okay, they ask to the residents of particular constituency, okay, vote for me in the nomination process, and I'll pay for your family's members' votes. If it's a $15 per member, so if you have a 5 household members, so I'll pay you $75. And this is an open secret now. I mean,
and it's
now
a challenge to the system for the democracy, which is actually letting everybody get what is due for everybody. You know?
Yes, yes. And that's what Tariq Fatah suggests in it. He says, and that's what Dr. Sharda was talking to me before the show, and I agree with Dr. Sharda, only those residents should be eligible to cast vote, to choose their candidate for certain parties if they are adherent to that particular party, at least for the past 5 years.
So, Dr. what do you suggest? Where should we draw the line? Where should be the lines?
Alimaji, I am here from 1968. I have seen so many nomination processes. It used to be only 200 to 300 people who are real core-hearted members of the party. They would come, they will select the candidate, and when we came, we brought that culture, and as Dr. Gora said, they have started making members thousands. I'm a rich man. I have $2-3 million. I can spend $200,000 for my nomination, because that's the ego which we have brought from back home. So this has started only, I would say, the first nomination which was really fought on this line. That was when Gurbaksh Malli became the first member of the parliament. That was a real fight of the membership. And after that we have seen, you know, the beauty and the worst part of it, beauty and the worst part both, that one man goes and vote for all the 3 candidates. He becomes a member firstly of the Liberal Party, being paid by the others, and then he becomes a member of the Conservative Party, because they all know each other. And then they become the member of the NDP party, and they elect the candidate. There are certain ridings which I have seen where Liberal Party did not want, or the Conservative Party did not want, the same community to win from that, and they would en bloc go there and vote for the other candidate. This is the tragedy, and I tell you, you asked me one question, what can be done? I say that one person should be member of the party for 5 years. Core member, 5 years, he is paying membership every year. And then when the question comes of the nomination, it is 100% that he would go for his own party. But what is happening here? From one to other, another to other, and then there are relatives. I tell you so many things, I can talk about it hours and hours, that what is happening. at this moment. And this was only in the Punjabi community. Now it has come into the Muslim community also from Pakistan, and it has come into the Chinese community also.
Because it's a learning process. They are all
they have learned.
It's working, so let's do it. So
but I'd like to interject here. In fact, this learning process is not good for Canadian democracy at all. And now it's a time for election Canada to take serious notice of those misconducts, I must say. And now there are proofs available in the communities about indiscrepancies within the nomination process. And I should say that some of us must go to either to Supreme Court of Canada or to Election Canada with some proof and file this kind of nonsense which is happening in the nomination process, because it is ridiculous, and it is what it makes, what Tariq Fatah says, is Canada's democracy for sale to tribalism. He cited one case here. He cited one case here. He said in his column, he said that, for instance, in Arundel, Mississauga, long-standing former MP Bob Deckett,
belonging to Anglo-Saxon,
and Bob Deckett, I personally know when actually some residents wanted to vote Bob Deckett, and they said, Bob, would you like to pay for our membership? Bob Deckett is a well-off guy. He said no, because he's a man of principle. He's a man of principle.
So he said no. Those who are very principled guys and right people for the politics.
This is not the question, right or wrong. If you have to take a break, and I will tell you the same question. I will continue that the process, what is happening and what has happened now, even after taking the notice by the Election Commission and by the parties. I will tell you how they have manipulated and what is happening and what will happen in the future.
So we have discussed about the ethnic vote, the problem, and buying and selling, which is actually a very big challenge to Canadian system. So we are going to talk about another challenge which is due to these ethnicities faced by the political system of Canada. Let's go for a break.
All natural sweetener, Flavor All. 20 flavors to choose from. The perfect substitute for sugar and artificial sweeteners.
Flavor All by Greenish.
Flavor All from Greenish, now available at Rexall pharmacies.
I'm Nick Jakern of Nick Jakern Financial Solutions, Senior Investment Advisor and Director of Private Client Group.
Nick Jakern Financial Solutions is a full-service brokerage firm in Toronto, Ontario, and has been in business for more than 20 years, servicing and building lifelong relationships with his clients. Have peace of mind knowing that you're financially secure and stable. Nick Jakern offers a range of financial services. To learn more, visit us at nickjakernfinancialsolutions.com or contact us today at 416-412-4272.
Welcome back to Behind the News, behind the politics, behind the system, what's going on. We are going to have another debate in this part about when we talk about the ethnic communities, when we talk about the baggages, we see that Canada has struggled a lot to separate religion from politics. But when we go back to ethnic voting and we go back to ethnic poaching, they're trying to bring back that very alarming point into the politics. So what is your take? Anyone?
No, I think I somewhat disagree with you, because this religion which we are talking that they want to separate it, no. The politicians are the persons who have brought these things into it. If they were strict, if the leader was strict, these things would have never happened. I'm going to give a simple example. He was talking about the nomination that people pay from their own pocket. Now, there are certain parties said no, everyone has to pay by the Visa or by their own credit card. Now, what is happening? Everyone is paying by their own credit card. Let's assume one person is making 5,000 members. They are paying from their own Visa cards or MasterCard, whatever it is, and that person has been compensated by the candidate with cash. So the question is, when the certain rules and regulations are made by the party or by the Election Commission of Canada, we know how to manipulate it and we know how to come across it, and that's what we are doing. This is a tragedy. I tell you, whatever we may talk, we may go to the High Court, we may go to the Supreme Court, Election Commission, there is no way we can stop it, because ethnic groups now are dominating the minds of the politicians. There was one party which was a conservative party. They always thought that perhaps they are above it. But I tell you, I have seen in the last 4 or 5 years, even they are being sold in this kind of ethnicity, or you may say call it tribalism. What do you say?
Yeah, no, I would like to actually add on that religion card now.
Yeah.
Religion card, I mean, Canada distances, Canada's politics distances herself from religion long ago.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, some new religions are making their ways into Canadian politics now. For instance, now you can hear such debates, oh, we need our faith-based schools, or we need our prayers rooms in schools.
Community center, they don't believe in community centers
Yes,
anymore.
no.
They believe in pouches for themselves.
So now the communities urge the politicians, okay, if you need our votes, you have to give us room, prayer room in the schools. So they are bringing now a different religion in politics. Before there was a religion, the religion of this land and the inhabitants was the Christianity. And now, I mean, you would probably seldom see politicians these days going to Anglo-Saxon churches for their election campaigns. But you would find them going to gurdwaras, mosques, mandirs, are the churches belonging to Korean community, belonging to Chinese community, but you would hardly see candidates doing their election campaign in Anglo-Saxon churches. So those churches, they were courageous enough. They fought that fight, and they separated themselves from the politics. But now the other streams, other streaks of religions, they are taking place of that,
We have seen in Europe for 1400 years, the Pope ruled Europe. Okay, after that, when they decided that why it is happening, they separated politics from the religion. But I tell you, in today's Canadian circumstances, what business Prime Minister has to go wherever there are 20,000 religious rally? He has no business to go there. No politician has a business to go there.
They have become a very big pressure groups actually. They are dominating through their pressure to the governments.
No, it's a vote bank. You see, every politician does not think about Canada. Every politician is thinking how I will keep my chair and how I will remain in power. We have seen Justin Trudeau for the last 3.5 years. Every effort of Justin Trudeau is not to make better life for the Canadians. It is how he can win 2019 election. This is the biggest drawback of the politicians everywhere in the world. I always thought Canada is different. No, Canada has gone into the same pattern where we have seen the others one. You tell me, I openly say, no politician should go to any big religious rallies. I'm not talking about the other rallies. No politician should go to any religious rallies, whether it is a Muslim rally or whether it is some other rally, Sikh rally, Hindu rally. No business of the politician of going there.
So I would say that politicians may go to their religious gatherings, but not to campaign for their.
Unless and until they stop. You see, they go there to show their faces and campaign for themselves.
Yes, I mean, we see when we see them.
It becomes a battle.
Absolutely.
Who is more.
When we see them clearly going for their election campaign, that is the biggest problem. Another issue I would like to attach with our discussion today, that as you raised that issue in the beginning, that now, I mean, ethnic candidates from different political parties, they don't dare contesting election in white dominating areas because they think that they would not get votes there, and they are true in their perception. And same is the case with the white candidates. They don't normally not like to be contested in those overwhelmingly ethnic communities. But Dr. Saab raised the one very important thing, that because Canadian politicians, political parties and the system is not helping new Canadians to assimilate, to integrate in Canadian society. Otherwise, the ideal thing is, as I am involved in politics, I am a political activist, I would like to contest from a very rural area. Why? Because I want to give a surety to my fellow residents, fellow Canadians over there, that yes, I come from South Asia, but I like to be part of this beautiful country.
And you do understand the deep realities, that it's not the ethnicity, but it's the understanding of realities of the country you're living in.
The problem at this moment is that these political leaders of all the parties now, they are not only bringing the baggage of being activist, that in their own way, but they are bringing their own conviction of certain ideas which may be anti nation of from where they have come, but these politicians, they embrace them. You know, I remember that till say 1990 or maybe 2000, hardly you will find a politician in gurdwaras and temples or anywhere. Now they see that there are 50,000 people. So actually the fault lies with the politicians, not with the system. And moreover, I still feel, Dr. Gora, that it was pertinent on the part of the government not to make ghettos. I call them ghettos now.
Yeah, they are ghettos.
Okay, there are Punjabi ghettos, there are Pakistanis ghettos, there are Chinese ghettos. No, that was the wrong concept. They should have made it sure that all those people who come as a migrant, they settle in different parts of Canada. Now what is happening? People from Atlantic areas, that population which was in say 1 million in one state, now that state has become only 600,000. Now those states, it's not even like a city, and they have so much expenses of 30 MLAs and premier and whatnot. What is the need all these things? So this was a mistake right from the beginning, from 1970 onwards, and now no government, whatever it is, whether it is a conservative, it is Liberal Party or it is NDP, no one can now solve this problem. It has become a fact of Canadian life that these people will settle in their own communities.
So now the question raises that, do you think it's the failure of the Canadian political parties, or how helpless do you think they are, or this is how it is?
Completely helpless, and they will not be able to do anything. This is what I said in the future. They won't be able to do it, and they will continue to grow this kind of ethnicity and tribalism. They will continue. You know, before any candidate wants to declare himself that I am going to become a candidate for the Conservative Party or the Liberal Party, there is a panel of 5-6 members. They interview. If they see that in one ethnic community, for example Brampton, now all the 5 seats, all the parties will try that there should be a Punjabi or an Indian fellow or a girl. They will not even allow the candidate to contest. It used to happen, but not now. Now they want the seat to win, and this is what is happening. As he said that no ethnic people would like to go and challenge the white community there to become a candidate. There is a reason for it. You have to qualify yourself first. Here we don't qualify. We qualify because we have the money and we can make the members and we can get elected.
So
this is the qualification.
So are you suggesting that even with all those ethnic, if we let this system go, they are incapable of choosing and nominating the right candidate who can understand and represent?
First of all, a candidate must work for 5 to 10 years in the community. They don't.
And in the same party as well.
Yeah.
I mean, now we can see very clearly during this recent nomination process in different political parties. A candidate was a staunch liberal couple months ago, shaking hands with Judge Justin Trudeau, and now finding opportunism within Conservative Party, for instance. They are jumping to Conservative Party because they think that they would there is less chances of getting nominated in Liberal because they are already incumbent there. So they just shift to Conservative.
Sir, our mindset is to get power some or the other.
I don't think
We
so.
don't- we
And we don't get even the power.
But the thing is, South, yes, what Dr. Sharda said is important. It's not South Asia. Politicians in South Asia, they get power and they misuse it. Here, you get sort of what you think is a power, but luckily they cannot misuse. They try to misuse it, and they try to misuse it by different means. But at least they cannot suppress Canadian citizens' rights, at least. But the thing Dr. Sharda brought two very important things. One thing he's emphasizing again and again, that this manipulation or this wrongdoing in Canadian politics so far is become a fact. Yes, it has become a fact. Dr. Saab thinks that it could not be challenged, but I think it must be challenged. It should be challenged, and it can be challenged. It's not that something that we should not address it. Otherwise, after 15-20 years, there wouldn't be a difference between South Asia and the South Asian pockets here in Canada. I don't,
we have 338 members, okay, and in the parliament now we have ethnic say 30. In the coming future, I say in the next 10 years maybe 50. They still cannot dominate for the next 50 years. But I don't say you should not go to the Supreme Court. Sure, you can go, but this legally does not stand anywhere.
No, Dr.
It is an internal matter of the political parties. No court will accept it as such, but there is no harm in trying.
No. I'm not saying that we must go, but I'm not saying that there shouldn't be South Asian or Muslim backgrounds candidates or the member parliaments. There must be, there could be 100. I have no issue with their numbers. I have issue with the mindset.
Yes.
The mindset is not going to be.
Don't you think that the picture changes when the system is so big from our back home to here? If we see the picture of the political scenario changes altogether, not only because of the certain realities, but also the position Canada holds in international community, the position we are standing, it changes. So we need to change.
We have gone down so badly in the last 10 years in the international scenario.
That could be one of the reasons that politicians don't.
No one cares about Canada as such in world politics. Let me tell you very clearly. We were at one time 5th GDP in the world. Today we are 10th. We are going down. Who cares what Canada says? Now Canada is talking about everywhere they go, oh, there should be a parity, there should be gender equality, other things. Wherever they go, they throw them out. They say, okay, we don't need you here. You just go. That's why we have lost India, we have lost China, we have lost Arab countries. And it's fine that you stick to your point. But that only you can do within your own country. Even here they have not been able to do it. The gender pay gap is $20,000 to $30,000 per year for the same work of the lady and the man. So what I am saying, the system, if you want to change it, the politicians have to change their mind, which I doubt very much. All I say, I think, Tahir Sahab, you may agree with it, that the new generation in the next 10-20 years, when they come and they start taking interest into politics, perhaps this kind of structure which you are now seeing it may change.
I do disagree with Dr. Saab on certain points. Canada's position was quite good in conservative government, in Harper government at world stage. We were quite well recognized on all international forums. In my opinion, Justin Trudeau's government lost its gestures, but recently they had 2-3 good decisions, I must say. I disagree with the Liberals' policies mainly, but on 2 things, I think I'm little bit satisfied.
Which one?
On China issue. They took a good stance in terms of human rights, as well as with Saudi Arabia.
No, human rights, what are you talking about human rights? Can we go and preach and tell them that you have to have human rights like Canada?
No.
This is not practical.
No. This is not, Canada didn't do that. I'm not talking about Liberal government. What Canada did, there was a Canadian citizen, female citizen, who was a sister-in-law of Canadian citizen Insaf Haider, and Miss Badawi was present in Saudi Arabia, and then our foreign minister took the stand, and I appreciate that. And then they brought Saudi teen to Canada, and that was a big bold step, and I really appreciate it. And also, and we are hearing that Asiya Bibi from Pakistan would join us soon as well. She's
I think already in Canada now.
Not now, but hopefully in a day or so, hopefully. So on China issue, for instance, China issue is a bigger issue because China is meddling with international politics as well as trade. So America is taking a big stand. So Canada stood by the United States, and that was a good step. But these are the relatively not big decisions, but good decisions, I must say. And coming to one more important point, because let's focus on our today's talk, which is about ethnic communities' participation in Canadian politics. My one more concern, some of our member parliamentarians of different background, either from Pakistan or from China, are from their own communities. We may call it the little issue of Khalistan, for instance. So some of member parliamentarians, they are bringing foreign agenda into Canadian politics, which should not be acceptable. And I think, Dr. Saab, it's not just the matter of legality. We Canadians, as we are talking, you, me and Alima are talking on media, it is important. We should raise this awareness among Canadians, and I believe that this awareness would create a bigger impact in terms of creating awareness about those.
Today's topic was very hot. I think
just 1 minute.
Okay.
And you know, it is very important to understand that what they are bringing. First of all those people, ethnic people, when they take the citizenship, when I took the Canadian citizenship, I took it total in totality. I am a Canadian, mentally, emotionally, sentimentally, in every way I am a Canadian. I consider myself Canadian. If anyone asks me, I would say yes, I am a Canadian. But when you have the political views of other countries and you are trying to impose on Canadian people, that means you are not a Canadian, and he or she should not be even elected as a member of the parliament or a member of the province.
We should have certain standards for our country.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for today's participation with us, and I hope that our viewers enjoyed today's discussion. It was very hot topic and we can endlessly talk about that. Thank you very much for watching our Behind the News show today. Thank you.